So my name is Vincent Strother. I'm your in-town farmer's insurance agent. I'm going to pass you out just a little bit of information. And I'm not a huge talker, so I don't know that I'll use all 15 minutes. But so farmers, a little bit about farmers. Farmers has been around since 1928, so almost 90 years. And of course we do personal insurance like home, auto, boat, motorcycles, RVs, mobile homes. But the thing I want to focus on today is life insurance for a few reasons. It's a topic that nobody ever really wants to talk about until it hits close to home. They feel like if they talk about it, it's bad juju, you're inviting death in. But even if you do believe that and you are inviting it in, wouldn't you rather be covered? Most people don't like to talk about it because they think, oh, I can't afford it. And that's a myth. Life insurance is actually very affordable, and depending on what type you get, the younger you get it, the cheaper it is the rest of your life. There are policies out there that are just terms, 10, 20, 30 years. The rate is guaranteed, so if you get a rate at 20, obviously it's going to be a lot cheaper than when you're 30 or 40, and you'll keep that for that entire term, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. There are whole life policies which will accumulate cash value over time, and that's cash value that you can pull out at any time. If you want to pull it out to use for your kid's education instead of borrowing from a bank, it's a much cheaper interest rate usually. Excuse me. And that usually costs you about the same price as a family dinner if you go out. So if you cannot go out to dinner once a month, your life insurance policy is usually paid for. And there's an acronym that we like to use in farmers. It's called DIME, that helps you determine how much you need to be adequately covered. And the D is for debt, so credit card debt, personal loans. I is for your income replacement, because let's face it, if you die, your spouse is obviously going to be heartbroken. Your children are going to be clinging to them, and they're going to be in no shape to go back to work for a while. And that's just the hard truth of it. And so it's better to take care of them from that standpoint. So your income replacement, you can do 2 to 3 times your annual salary. The M is for mortgage, so whatever mortgage balance you have. And then the E is for education expenses. So if your kids aren't in college yet, this is the money you want to set aside to provide for that college fund, because their income is going to be cut in half for the family since you're going to be gone. And for me, if you had come up to me, I'd say probably about 13 months ago now, I would have laughed at you about life insurance. But this is one of those times where it hit close to home for me. Best friend of 30 years was driving home with his wife and his oldest son on Highway 35 north of Angleton on May 1st of last year. Yeah. And habitual offender, high on Xanax, crossed the line, hit him head on at 70 miles an hour. He died instantly. His wife had a broken foot, his son lacerations and bruises, but they survived. He only had life insurance through his employer, which of course is usually a fairly decent amount for somewhat of a cheap price, but a lot of people don't realize when you leave, people get fired, they lose their job every single day. When you leave, that life insurance is gone. So I would urge you to go outside of your employer. Keep the one with your employer if you can afford it, but I would urge you also to go outside your employer and get life insurance through a separate company so that you have that even if your job is terminated. I guess to get back on his story, he had the policy through his employer. It wasn't a whole lot. His wife is struggling now. His 2 boys are in counseling and doing much better. And so, point being, you never know. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. I know I'm not taking up anywhere near the 15 minutes, but any questions for anyone? From anyone? No?
Can you tell about some of the, so you see these cheap policies that are advertised on TV and stuff, but if you kind of read some of the exclusions, I mean, it's anything from, if you were intoxicated in a car crash, you're not covered. I mean, there's so many exclusions on some of those cheap policies that people don't realize about.
Good question.
Insurance.
Yeah, so if like Vince was saying, if you're intoxicated or you're at fault in that accident, you're obviously not covered by life insurance, which leaves your family out to dry. If you commit suicide, that of course is not covered. And there's a gamut of other different exclusions that Vince is talking about. So you want to be careful. Talk to someone who knows what's going on. Make sure you understand everything before you actually purchase the policy. Okay?
Because not all policies have the same exclusions, correct?
Correct. Yeah, those are the two big ones. So definitely if you commit suicide, if you're drunk driving, or you commit any type of act like that while you're intoxicated, it's not covered.
Let me ask you, I heard that, I don't know if it's true, if there's a policy that they don't cover or whatever, that y'all can craft one for people sometimes. Is that true? Like, if there's a group of people coming, there's, I don't know, say they're, like, for example, I know you've got insurance for people with agriculture. You can insure just about anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's something that doesn't quite fit into the regs, can y'all do a custom policy for people?
No, typically not.
No?
No.
Okay.
So at least not with farmers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't go too far into that, not to touch on your personal situation, but you know, once you have a diagnosis like that, it's virtually impossible to get life insurance.
Exactly, yeah. So once you have a diagnosis of cancer, they will virtually, like Vince is saying, exclude you. I mean, depending on what type you have, they will make an exception, but it's a very rare exception. And so so I'm saying you want to get it ahead of time. Don't delay. Don't put it off. I luckily got mine 6 months after my best friend passed. And so, if I had waited until this month, it would have been too late. I wouldn't have been able to get life insurance.
Would they cancel it?
No, because you have a binding contract.
Until that term is up or what?
Yeah, until it's up or until you pass.
For renewal? Are you eligible for renewal?
Yeah, depending on which policy you purchase, there's other renewal options towards the end of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
What if you've had cancer and you no longer have cancer? You know what I mean?
The underwriters will look at what type you had, and then they'll crunch the numbers. Insurance is a convoluted mess when it comes to formulas, so they'll crunch the numbers and they'll see, okay, what type of cancer did they have? What's the recurrence rate? You know, is it
Pays off or not, right?
It's a numbers game, yeah.
They're gonna make money.
Yeah.
But there's a waiting period once you've been cured, 4 or 5 years, whatever the case may be, that they'll consider rewriting your policy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's what you're asking.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
Man, I think you just really kind of got everybody down.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Wake up.
Next time, car insurance, Vincent.
Yeah. Thanks.